I believe that most of us as children saw, or at least heard of the animated film called A Bug's Life. It was one of my favorite movies to watch, and it stayed like that until I saw The Godfather and Leon, the Professional. While that is all fine from one's perspective, it's not what I'm about to talk about. On the same year the film was released, a game based on the movie soon followed. I remembered my mom buying it for me a year later when it arrived in my country. I was so happy that I immediately installed it on my Windows 95 computer and started my adventure. It was so much fun killing enemies while crushing them with my butt. When I remember that part, it always makes me laugh. I remember completing every level and collecting all the achievements, except for one, the final level, my gamble with Hopper. I tried so many times until I eventually gave up and moved on. Now many years later, I decided to clean up my room, and by a stroke of luck, I found the game again. I began to remember it all, the fun, the time spent on it. It is perhaps the reason why I became a gamer in the first place, but never mind all that. I also remember the final level that I couldn't complete, a good reason why I should have tried it now. I decided to reinstall it on my computer, but an error popped up. The error in short words said that it would only run on Windows 95. I was really disappointed. I even fell into the temptation to go on YouTube and see the ending there. I was about to click search and an idea popped in my mind. Maybe somebody would sell an updated copy of on the internet. I looked at 100 online stores but with little to no success. I searched and searched until I came across a website called gamerom.noname.net. It wasn't very popular, but it seemed to still be in business. It had no animations, and it seemed to have been created with Dreamweaver. As I searched through the list, I couldn't believe my eyes. The description said, "in good condition, and works well on all PCs." I quickly took out my credit card and clicked on it on the Take It button. Afterwards, the unexpected happened. My browser closed in front of me before I could buy it. I reopened it and returned to the site, but was gone. The game had literally disappeared from the search. Confused, I decided to go to bed, wondering what had happened. Since I didn't give out my details, I had no real reason to worry. My money was still in my possession and no purchase was done. Thinking that someone else had bought it before me, I called it a night and went to bed. The next morning, I got up late. My dad entered the room and left me a package next to my television. He told me that a delivery man came this morning and said it was for me. I found it odd since I wasn't expecting anything from anyone, so I opened it. My eyes lit up as gold when I realized what it was. The words, A Bug's Life, were written in the front of the cover, and it was sealed in bubble wrap. I cut it clean with a knife and checked inside for the CD. It was there, but how is it here? I didn't send them my address, so how did they deliver it? It was a tough question to answer, but since I had the game, I may as well give it a shot. I inserted it into the PC, and the download screen appeared. I clicked next for all the requirements and started the download. When it finished, it said, "Download complete." I wasn't only excited that I had fully downloaded it without any errors, but that no Restart Now option was suggested. There was only a bottom saying, "Lunch," so I clicked on it and said to myself, "Let this nostalgia begin." For being an updated version, little to nothing had changed. The same catchy tune was playing, but it was a teeny bit distorted, but I pressed on anyways. The training level was your suggested option to click. I clicked the Enter key to sharpen up my skills. Like the original, Mr. Soil was my guide through the entire level. The difference was that he looked a little bit more shaken than usual. Was he afraid of something? No enemies would be present until I got to the end, so why did he look like he didn't want to be there? Another odd thing I noticed was that when you throw a berry, it leaves a red stain on the ground. This was an updated version, so I should have expected something different, but not as different as the next part. When I collected all the tokens and got to the upper platform with the mushroom and leaf, I discovered a new feature. Collect the grain and spell my name was normal, but collecting stronger berries made me wonder. When I fired a blueberry, the red puddle on the ground was larger, and it was even larger than when I used a green berry. When I got the gold one, I fired it at the enemies with a touch from the berry that exploded. Blood flew above Flick and even landed on his face. The same thing happened when I tried to jump or squish them with my butt. This was surely a different version, but I couldn't complain since I had to relive my childhood. At the end of each level, Flick would congratulate you if you completed all the achievements, but his unusual sound files were gone and were replaced with different ones. The one for the grain originally said, "having too much grain," but now it said, "later they'll come in handy." The one for your name, which gave you an extra life, usually said F-L-I-K, spells Flick, that's me. Instead it said, "another life, another opportunity." Finally, the gold achievement, which is earned by killing all of your enemies, must have said, "well, alright," but now it said, "can we find more of these?" To this point, I began asking myself if this was a hack of some sort. I exited the game and tried to go online to ask. Unfortunately, my internet was down and there was nothing better to occupy my day, so I decided to see what had changed. Level 1 was my only other option, so I entered. The level started out normally, with Dot as my guide. She led me to where I needed to go, like I did in the past. I would usually ignore her when exploring on my own. Looking around, I found Flick's invitation. I jumped in it, since it collected grain and killed my enemies as if I had a gold berry. I said to myself, "let's do this." I honestly wish I didn't. The enemies didn't just die, they were being sucked in. Some of them even tried to run away as I saw their bodies being reduced to piles of separate parts. There was so much blood underneath Flick that whenever he walked, he would seem to leave red footprints in his path. Another thing that disturbed me a lot was that when you used a flying flower, you would spin endlessly and you could kill most of your enemies. However, they didn't just spin and die. They instead began to turn on themselves from both sides. The upper body turned left and the lower body turned right. They would do this until they would eventually split in two. It was graphic, but all seemed quiet for the next levels. The only thing I noticed was that Flick's blue skin was turning whiter by each chapter. I was honestly thankful that all remained the same for the next levels, but my luck soon ended. When I arrived in the Clover Forest, all began to break apart. In this level, I had to gather all the bird parts, but it wasn't that simple to witness all the cutscenes. I remember the one where Manny would perform the trick when transform his wife into one of the pieces you needed, but it didn't end there this time. What would happen is that Gypsy would enter a box of noodles, and from it a part would pop out. In this version, Gypsy would enter the box as usual, but instead of her husband saying his famous words, Rosie came from above with the spike-filled board. She descended and, with one push, she shoved it inside the box. For a moment there was silence. Blood came out from underneath the box and the bird part popped out, all colored in red. Unfortunately for me, the cutscene didn't end there. The scene then cut to black and reappeared soon after. We see Rosie and Manny having a conversation. "Now we can be together forever," he said. Rosie then grabbed his face and they began to kiss. Soon after, the cutscene moved to Rosie's feet, and with one of her sharp legs, she then shoved it into his chest. Manny couldn't move, and he looked like he was going to die at any second. "I don't think so." He then fell to the ground dead. She opened his belly and turned around. With a foul yell, she laid her eggs into the body. The corpse was getting fatter and fatter, and when it was full, she moved to the mouth. Flick just smiled menacingly at this point, as if he was a master and Rosie the apprentice. When I regained control of the ant, I went to the box and see if there was some life left in it. In the original, Gypsy would be calling Manny to get her out, but in this nightmare, no noise made itself present. I tried to regain my sanity by leaving the place as fast as I could. I accidentally fell in a chasm, and there is where I met Helmick. Like the original, he said, "It's okay, you can jump on my tummy." Maybe something remained normal after that. As I jumped on him, the caterpillar exploded into 100 pieces. I almost felt sick as I saw a brain hop in the distance. This was too much for anybody to take. Seeing these characters all die made me uncomfortable. I went to see Francis and Slim, where the final part of the bird awaited me. As I expected, Francis used Slim as a stick, but hits the part too hard and the Slim breaks in two. Then Francis says, "Is this good, Master?" I grabbed the final part and ignored what followed. This game was so beautiful. What man had cast a spell upon it? I cursed my superior curiosity for choosing to continue. The next part involved getting into the entire Girl Scouts to help me fly the bird. You would do this by climbing up a tree and finding them. I would always end up falling back to the bottom of the level. It started out normally at first. I began my ascension and reached this first scout. Here's where things got creepy again. Dim came down and picked up the scout, but instead of holding her until getting on top of the tree, he dropped her to the ground, and as soon as he reached the highest point in the sky, I quickly rushed back down to see if the NPC was still alive. She was, but her voice was weak. "Why?" she asked. She then stopped moving for good. Her eyes were open and endless tears began to fall from her cheeks. There was nothing I could do, so I continued up the tree. I came to the second scout, and as the first, I approached her. Dim came down as well, but this time he didn't drop her. Instead, he landed on her and crushed her into 100 pieces. "Was that good, Master?" he said before flying back up. I found the third scout soon after, and Dim repeated his action with a different outcome. He came back down from the sky and bit her body so hard that it severed her head and her legs fell to the bottom of the tree. He then munched whatever remains of the girl and looked at me with blood between his teeth. "Master is right. Children taste better than adults," he said before leaving again. I found and approached the ultimate one, but Dim didn't come this time. In his place, Rosie used her web to cocoon her victim. "Sorry, dear, but I need more space to lay." After covering her face, she grabbed her by her hands and took her away, never to be seen again. I came across the last one with a quick pace. I came close to her and Francis showed up. He looked at her with hatred, as if she ruined his life. "Leave her, my lord. She's a useless waste of time." This cutscene then gave a close-up on her. Time appeared to be going faster until I noticed bones beginning to show forth on her skin. In a moaning tone, she then said, "Feed me." Soon after, she bent slowly to the ground and closed her eyes. Time moved faster again, and her skin decomposed, as there was none left. She was nothing but bones. Then the little girl's skeleton became ash, and the wind blew it away. I got to the top and climbed on the bird, only to encounter the final horror of this level. Dot's head was impaled on a pike, and Francis attached it on the bird's head. There was also Rosie and Dim, just standing there, waiting only for my arrival. When I stepped forward, they all bowed, and the level ended. This was so intense that my heart almost stopped beating. The next level only added to the nightmare. It was a boss fight. Molt was a straightforward boss. He would charge at you, but when you change directions, it would slip and it takes its time to follow you again. It would sound easy, but for the achievements, it would be tricky. The fight, on the other hand, was different. The grasshopper didn't follow me, but held his arms in front of his head. He said, "Please don't hurt me." I almost felt sorry for him if he wasn't the villain, but at this point, I began to wonder who was who. There was also another particular thing I noticed. In this level, I didn't have my berries, but I fought with my arms. There were no tokens and no other enemies in the level. It was just Molt and I, ready for showdown. I approached him slowly, fearing that this was a trap. It wasn't. I punched him 6 times, and after every punch, he begged me to stop even more. When he reached half his health, Flick punched him right in the eyes. Having his knuckles smaller than the grasshopper's eyes, he punched him in both, and they popped immediately. Green liquid came out, and Molt fell to his knees. Holding his hands, he pleaded and prayed even more for mercy. Flick gave him none. When his health bar was empty, Flick punched him in the gut. It was so strong that it penetrated into the other side. The grasshopper fell to the ground, broken. His tongue was licking the floor, and Molt didn't have the strength to pull it back into his mouth. He closed his eyelids and waited for the cold embrace of death to take him. "Come, my disciples, and feed." The ants from behind the leaves all came rushing to the corpse, eating whatever they could. Some even fought for certain parts, and others who kept their sanity looked in disgust. "I'm coming for you, Hopper." I didn't know what to think. Molt was defeated, but I didn't enjoy it. The internet was still down, and I began to wonder if completing the last level was worth it. I continued on and begun level 13, or Anthill 2, as the zone was called. The level's name would always be Grasshopper's Leaves, and the object was to rescue Ada from Hopper, but it wasn't. Instead, the name was Grasshoppers Die, and the objective was to rescue your victim. As I started the level, it looked similar to the one I beat a long time ago, rescuing Ada by using a berry shooter seed. However, the level was strange. For instance, Tuck and Roll spoke normally, and I understood every word. They were also colored differently. They looked like mimes with their black and white features. Their eyes were empty, and I felt as if they were looking at me wherever I walked. I knew at this point I was getting paranoid, but I arrived too far to quit now. I will defeat Hopper, and I will finally win the game. I remember this level being hard since there were no gold berries, so you were stuck with the standard red berries until you had to grow a certain plant to destroy enemies for good. The level was filled with grasshoppers, and since there were no other berries, I couldn't kill them with my red ones. In this version, however, I didn't have to. Every time I approached a grasshopper, they would tremble in fear, even if I couldn't hurt them. One thing I almost forgot to mention was that Flick looked so pale in this level that it was almost blinding. Anyway, I had collected all the tokens and rescued Ada. It wasn't scary until the screen faded to black to return me from the main menu. But it didn't. Instead, a cutscene played. I found it odd since I didn't complete all my achievements before the level, but the words were, "Congratulations, bonus movie clip earned." I clicked the spacebar and waited for the show to begin. It started off showing Flick rescuing Ada and giving him a hug. The killer ant simply smiled, and after a few seconds, he grabbed her by the arm and pushed her behind a rock. He left his grin present as he too disappeared behind the rock. "Flick, what are you doing?" she asked. "Enjoying my prize, no?" he said before several screams of agony were heard. The screen faded to black, and it reappeared with Ada in front of the screen. She too was now corrupted like Tuck and Roll. Her skin was gray and her eyes were black. Then Flick came behind her. "What must I do, master?" He petted her on the head and bit her antenna off. She didn't scream for the pain inflicted, or rather for that matter. "I need you to fly me to the skies and fast. We need to finish what has been started," he said. Who was he referring to? I must have surely missed an important cutscene or something. I didn't care at this moment. I wasn't about to replay any of the levels, so I moved on. I came to the level before the last one and entered. In this part, I had to fly in the sky with the help of Ada and lead Hopper to the bird's nest. Everything looked the same except for the color of the characters, but something gruesome would happen when I flew too high. When I got too close to the sky, Flick's arms would detach from his body. As the rest of his body would fall to the ground, Ada would follow and pick him up from his legs. If he got too high again, the legs would detach and she would pick him up by the torso, and so on until only the head without antennas was left. Flick would swear hard every time it happened, and sometimes he would call the princess a strumpet. This part was a little hard since you had to worry about the bugs doing the same effect on you, but I progressed and finished the level with the head and one antenna left. At long last, we arrived at the moment of glory. While still in doubt of progressing, it was midnight and I could take whoever had to come. Like the one before the fight, the words of the title and the objective changed a little. Rather than "Eliminate Hopper and save your colony," it simply said, "Sacrifice Hopper and preserve the cult." I entered the level with the previous ones and already felt wary when I saw Tuck and Roll. As I touched one of them, they both spoke the same sentence. "You are fixed and the fires are ready." They were right. My entire body was back together, or at least I think it was my body. Flick was back in his original blue color, but his body didn't match. One arm was bigger than the other, and my feet didn't look like that of an ant, but more of a caterpillar. I decided to ignore it and move on. What struck me odd about this level was that the enemies were nowhere to be found, aside from Hopper. Where they would usually be found was now replaced with green goo. The rain was also acting weird. Instead of coming from the sky, it came from the ground and went upwards. Flick didn't care about these details as he kept on repeating it to himself, "We're almost there." I took the blueberries and began to push Hopper ever closer to his end. He wouldn't stop repeating, "Stay back, you monster!" I almost made it to the top of the hill with plenty of lives left to spare. After so long, I was finally going to close a chapter in my life for good. I kept attacking with my berries as Hopper kept on trying to keep his distance. After getting him to the top, I spammed as fast as I could to the control button and fired berries at the grasshopper without care. As his health went down, I couldn't help but see his body become purple. I assumed he was becoming bruised. But when his health bar was empty, a cutscene occurred. I was expecting the bird to come down and take him, but the bird never came. Hopper was on the ground dying, and Flick stood there silent, but not for long. The ant grabbed a stick from nearby and shoved it through his mouth until it reached the other side. He then gave the impaled Hopper to 2 ants, and they cooked him over a campfire I didn't notice before. As the camera turned around, I could see all the ants and the remaining circus performers. Their skins looked like Princess Ada's. They didn't move, and they didn't care what was happening. Flick then bit Hopper in the head and cracked open his skull. "Come and take it!" he yelled. I expected the game to be over, but it wasn't. After the black screen, Flick is seen sitting on a tree with Ada sleeping next to him. The camera then zoomed in on Flick. His eyes would be blank if it wasn't for a round red circle running around the empty white. Our eyes were connected with one another. I couldn't break the contact even if I wanted. "Tell me," he said, "was this the ending you expected? I know you have many questions, but first answer mine." I shook my head to him and gave him a no. "No?" My heart began to pump faster as I couldn't believe what he saw me do that. This was a video game. He wasn't supposed to know that what I was thinking. I calmed myself down and let him continue. "What? You expected me to be seen as the hero? You of all people should know this, Joseph. Did you really think I traveled to the city to find help? I went there to recruit, to help abandoned nobodies to take the vengeance they never got, to overthrow the corrupted folks who left us for dead. Sure, some didn't make it, but it's not my problem that they were having second thoughts. We can't afford another dagger to the heart, can we? You and I are the orphans of society, forgotten but not lost, unknown and unloved by all. You and I aren't so different from one another. You try your best to help people in your everyday life, but all they want to do is take you down. You give them a hand and they bite it. You try your best to make a difference for their boon, but everyone pushes you away. No one wants to be your friend, even if you want them to see you as such. Our path is a lonely one, Joseph. Only together can we truly do things. You will eventually become corrupted because of your love for others. It's a fate you can't avoid. I think it's time for you to make a choice. Join my cause or be banished by the army you helped me create. Give me your hand and let me enter your world." Suddenly Flick's hand came out of the screen and was millimeters away from my face. I was gasping for air as I took all the words in. This ant was here in front of me asking for help. But what should I do? This was most certainly had been a bad dream. No, it wasn't. It was real, and I had a choice to make. I lifted my hand and took out my index finger. I aimed it to the hard disk release button. "What are you doing?" he asked. I swiftly clicked on it and waited for it to open. In anger, Flick grabbed my neck and began strangling me. As I tried to get up, his head came out of the screen and I was petrified for what I saw. Flick's head was identical to the ant here on Earth. The large malabites and those red-colored eyes. His grip got tighter and at the point, everything began to fade. "You have ruined everything! You—" A sound I recognized was heard, and Flick disappeared. The game exited automatically, and my desktop was shown. I picked up the disc with a picture of him on the front. I turned the CD around to see if it was scratched, and tried to make sense of it all that I witnessed. Another surprise awaited me. The ant and his crew were all there. He wasn't dead yet. Aside from Flick, everyone else looked disappointed at me. Opening his arms, he tried to bargain with me. "Joseph, surely you now see who the villain is. The world. You are detested to become like me. It is the only way you'll survive. Now put the CD back in the computer and let us out. Do it!" Out of pure instinct, I broke the CD in half. As soon as it cracked, loud screams were heard. They were so ear-piercing that I was paralyzed. I held my ears for all the 3 seconds it lasted. My neighbors were awakened by the sound, so I went to go calm them down. When I returned, I cleaned the floor, and soon after I went online. I wanted to contact the website about this cruel joke, but my search engine gave me nothing. I tried searching for the URL, and the results was the same, as if the website never existed. Since it was the last website I visited, I went to my browser history. As I expected, there was nothing about it. According to my history, the last website I visited was YouTube, to search for the ending I didn't see. I should have done that instead. I decided to ask online, and I typed in if anyone knew about the website or this hack of a bug's life. In less than a minute, I had an answer. A woman by the name of Katie contacted me and ordered me to take down my post immediately. In exchange, she would provide me the answers I seek. I did as she asked and contacted her soon after. "Is the game still in your hands?" she asked. "I destroyed it and threw it in the trash can," I responded. "Thank goodness, you're a lucky one." As the conversation went on, she told me that the website I had bought it from was referred to as the Devil's Trolley. It only appeared once in every person's life and disappears after 7 minutes you leave or buy something. She went on to explain that no one knows who the owner of the website is or why he gives out these games for free. I assumed the price was supposed to be my life. Her next words would traumatize me forever. "You're lucky it was just a game made for children. You got out easy. Others, however..." There was a man who bought a version of Amnesia, the Dark Descent, from the site. When he started playing it, he stopped for a few minutes to blog about it online for all his friends to know about it. He said how realistic it was, and he was going to upload screenshots of the game after he was done playing. I saw the post in time and contacted him. I pleaded for him to destroy it, but he didn't listen to me. The next morning, the police found him dead in front of his laptop. 4 scissor marks were visible in his face, and his heart was missing. The police presumed it was cut out by some kind of saw. The man was my son. I gave her my sincerest gratitude for my warning, and my regards for the story she shared with me. Right after I gave her my 4 farewells, she sent me one final message. "Share your experience with the world, how you found the game and the progress in it. Leave no details out. I want the world to know before more lives are taken. And for all of our sakes, never tell any soul the name of this website." That was the last time I ever heard from Katie. She never spoke to me again. I decided to fulfill her words, for I had nothing to lose, and that's why you're reading this. Sometimes I wonder if Katie was actually the maker of the game, and she only needed me for free publicity, but I digress. What perhaps scared me the most of this experience was that I was always at Flick's mercy. I still think deeply of his words. How will I eventually become him? He was right. I am exactly like him. I want to help others gain their wishes, but they all hate my presence. Maybe by destroying the disc, I saved the world. Or maybe I gave up on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Maybe Flick felt sorry and may have even cared about me. After all, he did want me to join his cult. But I'll let you be the judge of that, and I'd better like it.